But we have this, for example. They're taking our jobs, is one of them.
Yeah.
Then there's the other one. They're lazy and they are a burden to the society. How can they take our jobs and be lazy and a burden to society? Right. And by the way, if a refugee with no skilled work takes your job, what fucking job did you have? What's happening is more like in the US, you have, oh man, all these Norwegians are coming to our country, taking our neurosurgeon jobs.
Right, right.
Like, it's like literally. People aren't just coming to the country and stealing your job. And they're not coming here for fun. Mm. They're coming here because their country was bombed to bits. Some of them by us. Mm. Like, our part of the world did this to them, right? But yeah, let's talk about some music.
I know that I was trying to think of a segue to get into the album, but let's just.
I think talking about being a father in terms of all of this political turmoil is a great way in, because it is my job to make sure my daughter doesn't grow up to be an apathic teenager who says we can't change anything anyway, so let's just be hedonistic till the world ends. Because that's not the answer either. If you don't want to have a standpoint in this world, someone will make the decision for you. And a newsflash is, it's not going to be the nice guys, it's not going to be the Red Cross and Amnesty International making these decisions for you. Sure. It's going to be the EU Commission, like, that's going to take this decision for you. Yeah. Therefore, we must be active and we must do something. And first of all, let's treat the children like children and not make them into little mini robots. Right.
Why do you think then that not so many artists speak out about these things, especially the higher up?
Because you're not making any money when you speak out. If you are speaking out against political injustice and women's rights, the issues of skin color in different countries and incidents around the world, if you start speaking up about all these political aspects, people stop listening to you. I can't not speak about this. I grew up in an activist neighborhood. I grew up experiencing what does police brutality look like and feel like. What does it feel like now, 20 years later, after my first strip search? I was 10. How does it feel when I see police? I am anxious. My hands are wet. I don't feel good. I know how it feels. So I can't not talk about these things.
Right. And well, one thing, and this is something you've always done, you've always been somebody who talked about kind of what you experienced as you were growing up. And,
yes.
And kind of, but was there ever a point where you thought, well, maybe I'm going too far with this, maybe this is, I'm showing a side of myself that might be too personal?
I would never say being too personal is a problem. You know, liars need really good memories because they have to remember everything they say. If you're being honest, you can just tell the same story over and over and over again. I think I've almost not gone far enough talking about politics and my political views. I believe in the socialist idea. I mean, Denmark and Norway and Sweden are pretty good examples that if you pay higher taxes in general, crime is lower, happiness is higher, people feel good.
But it's an interesting thing because I've interviewed a lot of musicians, but very few, especially as you get to the more successful level, very few are willing to speak open-mindedly about it.
Well, if I was a right-wing guy, if I was voting for a xenophobic party, and I talked about that, the left will stop buying my stuff. If I start talking about my left-wing political ideals, the right-wing will stop buying my stuff. Maybe even the central people will stop buying my stuff if I'm too right or too left. If I say I'm like a central Democrat, maybe the left and the right will also stop buying my stuff. So people are trying to, especially famous people who, I mean, what we do as artists and performers is, I make money when people want to buy a ticket or when people want to listen to my song. So if I am alienating a part of the people who are buying music, then I am making my consumer base smaller. And any brand wants to not do that.
Right.
I just think it's better to be honest about things and say, I wish for a sharing, caring world. I actively work towards more ecological farm produce. I actively work towards like better work environment. Like that's what I like. That's what I think we should have. So I can't not say it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But then again, I didn't do this to become rich or famous. I write songs because I can't not write songs.
Well, that's the interesting point then, because you have, by kind of default, you've become a public figure. It's not by any choosing, but it's part of the territory in a way. So how have you dealt with it? How have you, because especially with the second album, it was a huge success, Grammy nominated, everything. How do you go on from there and still keep your 2 feet on the ground? Is it going back to Christiania and those kind of things?
Becoming a father was a big part of keeping my feet on the ground. Going home to Christiania, where people asked me, "Are you happy?" More than they ask me, "Are you happy with the money you made?" It is difficult to stay grounded, but at the end of the day, it's like if someone tells me you're being too political, I tell them, shut the fuck up. If someone tells me, you're not doing enough to be political, I tell them, shut the fuck up. It's like as we talked about in the beginning, I'm only responsible for me. And I'm not a role model. I'm not an influencer. I'm just me, and I'm trying to be honest, and through my honesty, affect people in some way. And hopefully, I've had experiences where people who were a little too extreme, I would have debates with them about social structures, politics, and often because I try to talk without using swear words, without being mean, without degrading the person I'm debating.
So without trying to point fingers?
Without trying to point fingers, like the "You're Not the Only One" song.
Right.
I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is let's ask each other some questions. Let's get closer to each other through questions and not point fingers.
Final question then. What do you, I don't know, maybe you don't think about this, but what do you hope people will hear when they listen to your album? Do you hope they take away something?
At the end of the day, what people do with the music is their business.
Right.
That's what I like about creating music. It means one thing to me, one thing to you, and another thing to all these other people out here. I do hope people take with them the message of love and caring. Like sharing really is one of the most beautiful gifts we have as people. Giving is a human need, therefore the people who are receiving, they're being merciful. I mean, let's not talk about being a Judeo-Christian society. Let's act as if we are. Because right now what we have is a lot of people worshipping things that man have made instead of worshipping what God made. And I'm not a religious man, I don't go to church. But I worship the plants and the water and the food I eat, the people I meet. So maybe if we can be a little better to each other, especially all these religious people, start showing the compassion that you're preaching, right?
Right. On that note, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I'm sorry this went really deep.
Well, because...
But actually I'm not sorry.
No, but because I'm not as well, because this wasn't how I planned the interview, but in a way...
Sometimes that's a good thing, you know?
I think so as well. I think...
Going off script.
This is good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin.